just want to begin by thanking NJCU for inviting us out here. It's actually our first time in the USA, and we're I also want to thank Banana from the Women's Centre because she's amazing, and since we got here till now, she's made sure we've been okay, she's made sure we've been eating the right food, she's made sure everything has been running smoothly, and I just want to give her a big round of applause. Thank you so much. And secondly, thank you so much to all of you for coming out here today and giving us this opportunity to speak in front of you and present something so close to our hearts.
It's also an honour for us to be here as part of Women's Her Story Month. As Vinayna said, a month for celebrating the lives, stories and achievements of women all around the world. We take inspiration from the women in our lives every single day, so to be here as part of Women's Her Story Month is a real honour for us. And lastly, being here in the newly created School of Business is absolutely incredible. I mean, look at this view, guys. Oh, like, you can't get much better than that. So it's such an honour. We're really, really thrilled to be here, presenting something that we've been working on for a number of years and that we feel needs to be heard by many, many more people. So, without further ado, I'd like to get straight onto it. But before we get onto the Brown Girl movement and what it actually is and why it's important, we'd just like to take you on a journey about how we met and how this all started in the first place. So, rewind 5 years ago, first year at University College London, which is this big old institution right here. And it was the first week of university, which is known in the UK as Freshers Week, where all the new students get together, there's loads of socials and crazy things going on. And I was looking for, I don't know, a brown face. I don't know why, but I just had that urge within me. And I bumped into Amina. We got along so well, still do, and for the next 3 years of our university lives, we lived together, we studied together, and we traveled together. And this was a crucial point for both of us because we truly believe that university, college, living away from home is a transformational period in any person's life. It's truly when you figure out who you are and what you're passionate about and what's important to you.
Cecil studied linguistics and I studied English literature, both of which are quite unconventional subjects for people of our background. We usually go down the doctor, dentist, lawyer, engineer route. A lot of the students in my class were upper to middle class white students, and here was I, this brown South Asian woman from a working class background. I remember feeling a lot of the times that my student community couldn't really understand some of the things I was going through at home, at university, some of the pressures I had, and I felt a lot of the times that I couldn't participate in this community. Here I was with people who would be talking about Walt Whitman and Shakespeare at dinner with their parents, whereas at home we'd be debating Indian and Pakistani politics, and we all know how that goes down. So I remember feeling a lot of the times that being brown gave me some kind of disadvantage, and I didn't like feeling that way. I remember asking myself questions like, do I belong here? Are my opinions valid? Am I good enough to be here? I knew I was good enough to get to UCL, but I didn't know if I was good enough to stay there and succeed. I felt really disconnected.
I think this highlights the importance of community and having people around you that you can relate to. Oftentimes, people of colour, we're in environments where sometimes we're the odd ones out, whether that's within our jobs, our professions, or at university itself in certain subject areas. We can often feel a little bit isolated. So we find a sense of community perhaps within our families, etc., and people around us that understand the unique struggles that people of colour or first and second generation immigrants go through, because they are different challenges, and you need people around you that can support you through that and that really understand where you're coming from. And we didn't often find that within our subjects, as Amina mentioned, but it's not like we didn't try. I mean, we went to Indian society social events and gatherings, etc., to meet more brown people. And it was great, it was really, really fun, and there were really really good people, don't get me wrong, but we just felt like something was missing a lot of the time. And the people that we met, they didn't really have that deep connection with their culture in the same way that we did. We love our heritage, we still do, and we wear it on our sleeve. For instance, when I introduce myself, I'll be like, "Hi, I'm Seagull." And sometimes the reaction would be like, "Oh, I love how you say your name all Indian," with the pronunciation in its original language. Whereas a lot of other students and people I'd meet, they often anglicize their names to make it easier for other people to pronounce. Or they would be kind of too busy making caricatures of their parents' accents and their parents' sayings rather than trying to understand where their parents are coming from and relate to them as well. And we just felt that there was something missing here. It seems like a lot of the people our age who were at university, out in these environments, had kind of left their culture at home, and they were kind of split in between two worlds and two identities and didn't really know how to negotiate that oftentimes. If you were proud of your culture, sometimes it was met with, "Oh, you're such a fob," or, you know, it's not very cool to be proud of your culture when we were in university and our experiences.
We found something very interesting and powerful. We found so many brown girls taking to social media and using the power of self-representation, i.e. their blogging platforms, to express some of the anxieties and concerns we feel as a South Asian diaspora. They were talking about things like the commodification of Indian culture, cultural appropriation, white girls wearing bindis. They were talking about religious issues too, like racial profiling, Islamophobia. These girls were edgy, they were cool, they were intellectual, and they felt a really deep connection to their culture. We felt like we had found a community. We had found people who were kind of like us. Here's a short video by a blogger called Anjana Raj, and in this video she talks a lot about her style and how she expresses her hybridized identity.
I have this itch to constantly create. It was an escape for me. It didn't really matter what it was, as long as it was visual and there was an end product that I created or contributed to. I think I'm an expressionalist in the sense that my release is always directed externally, and I feel like suffocated if I don't express myself.
This was the beginning of the online brown girl movement. It was slow, steady, but powerful.
So one afternoon, when Armin and I were meant to have been studying for some SAE or exam, I can't remember what it was, we were in the library and we just turned to each other and said, let's do something. Let's start something. Let's do something of our own. And this was a point when we thought, we were already using Tumblr, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, it might have been for procrastination, but we were still using it, and we were finding all of these awesome brown girls around the world, just dotted in their individual places. They were really spread out, and they were doing things kind of by themselves, the majority. And we thought we wanted to create a platform, a common hub, where all of these girls could come together, find each other, and find inspiration for whatever they're doing. It was like creating a community online of brown girls. So we thought, we wanted to have this common place of inspiration, but also a place for the next generation of young South Asian women and girls to find role models as well. They could find these girls doing things as we were showcasing their work and think, hey, she's pretty cool. Maybe I could do that. Positive role models. Maybe they didn't find that sense of community, that sense of inspiration wherever they were in their environments, in their real day-to-day lives, but online they could find these girls who are there and take inspiration from them as well. And so we started our own space, and Two Brown Girls was born.
That act of creating something, of turning an idea into a reality, is at the heart of entrepreneurship. We believe that it's so important for people of colour and people of other ethnic minorities and marginalised communities to feel as though they own a space where you can represent yourself, where you can express and curate your own identity and show it off to people. This was an incredible moment for Sipil and I, and we also believe that these kind of spaces are so important in a world where sometimes our thoughts and our identities and our ideas aren't often given a lot of validity.
So what is our space? Two Brown Girls is a website, www.two-browngirls.com. And we blog and write about various topics and issues that are relevant to the South Asian diaspora on this website, but we also share interesting content that we find we think others should know about as well. And this content is categorized into 4 different areas: art, people, style, and faith. So, art is really important, and we both believe in the power of creativity. We believe that art can communicate ideas in ways that words can't. And as we said before, the arts isn't always encouraged in conservative South Asian households. So South Asian artists, we love supporting them, platforming their work, whatever brave and courageous stuff they're doing, we love to show it off and make sure that more people hear about it. So not only do we present their work, but we also feature interviews to get an in-depth idea of what they're trying to say. The next section is people. So we believe that it's important to be conscious citizens of a society. Always question the status quo. Don't just take things at face value. So we discuss issues that are important and relevant, and we do this through a series of posts called Two Brown Girls Thinks and Two Brown Girls Reflects. That's the one. And as well as that, as I mentioned before, we have a section featuring important people. So, for instance, there are role models for other young South Asian women. This is Saira Hunjan, an incredible tattoo artist who's now moving more into fine art and visual art. And as you can see from her quote, her heritage and her culture is so integral into what she does, and she's so successful at it as well.
Style, because who doesn't love to look good? Sorry, but Stephen and I also love keeping in touch with the latest South Asian fashion trends. We love finding out about upcoming designers and the latest trends in embroidery, the latest trends in what to wear your sari with. And we also sometimes get the opportunity to interview and feature some of our favorite designers, which is super cool. Faith. Faith, religion, and spirituality are very, very important to the both of us. I'm Muslim and Sipil is Sikh, and through our really close interfaith friendship, we are able to discuss certain issues that exist within both of our religious communities.
So the impact of Two Brown Girls has been twofold. In one sense, personally in our lives, Two Brown Girls came at a time when we were in 3rd year of university and really honing into what we were interested in. And we realized that you can bring your culture forward. You can always include the pride and interest in your heritage into whatever subject area you're in. For instance, in Amina's final year topic in English literature, she studied the relationship between Shakespeare and India. Myself, in linguistics, I looked at the transformation of English in Bollywood films because that's what I was interested in. And I think what we wanted to say is that it's possible to have the best of both worlds. You can be proud of your culture, you don't have to be ashamed of it, and it can actually add a unique and interesting aspect into whatever area you want to pursue. And as well as this, on a wider scale, the Two Brown Girl movement was really, really growing. We have amazing interactions with our followers. They ask us interesting questions, and we're also able to collaborate with them, platform them, and relate to other brown girls dotted around the world, as we spoke about before. This was so interesting because literally year by year and week by week, we see more brown girls popping up over the internet. We see them on Instagram, they'll follow us and be like, hey, what's she up to? And they're showcasing their work. So maybe some of them are starting a blog, or they're interested in art and they're putting their artwork out there growing and growing. It's so, so encouraging to see. This, as Pamela mentioned before, is the spirit of activism, it's spirit of entrepreneurship. And what's amazing right now is that we have so much power in our hands and at our fingertips. I mean, raise your hand if you have Facebook in this room. Okay, raise your hand if you have Twitter. Exactly, so you can see just in this room how social media has become so integrated into our everyday lives. So if you have an idea or a passion or something that you want to say, you don't have to go through the system. You can bypass the whole thing and get to people directly. You just need to jump online, connect with people, and your message will get out there. That's what we're trying to say. But the one thing is you can't always do this alone as a solo mission.
In a world where competition is so fierce and everybody's always trying to outdo each other and get ahead of each other, it's so important to believe in the power of collaboration, especially when we're talking about communities. If we all belong to the same or similar communities and we have a similar message, if we all get together and we say the same thing together, our message is much more powerful. Also, if we're talking about, as part of Women's Hair Story Month, it's so important to recognize that as women, we don't always have to compete with each other. We can support each other, be it in the arts or in academics or in the professional field. We can be there for each other and be a part of a strong community, because together we can get ahead. Through collaboration, Cecil and I have been able to widen our reach. We've connected with Browngirls in India, in Pakistan, the USA, in Canada also.
Most recently, one of our most recent collaborations was with 3 incredible women from Canada. 3 of them are collectively known as Trifle, which means 3 flowers in Sanskrit. And you can see this image here of us when we all joined together. It's a beautiful piece of art. And they came over to the UK. We were able to help them co-curate an event in London and tap into London's audiences. So last July, we had a gallery exhibition showcasing local artists and an awesome evening of spoken word poetry. The 3 women are Ruby Kaur, an Amazon best-selling poet. Yes, you hear me, yes. Ruby Kaur is there. We had Edith Kaur, a vocalist and visual artist, and Kiran Rai, model, filmmaker, and actress. So this is really awesome little film made by Mantata Films that captures our meeting and our collaboration. We'll just play it now. We just like to mention the impact coming to the USA has had on us so far and where we'd love to go next.
For the past 5 days, we've been a huge part of your community here at NJCU. We've had an incredible time. We've attended talks like one by Dr. Christopher Emden, which was incredible. And we also watched a moving performance by women of color in Jersey City. It's honestly been amazing, and we feel so inspired by some of the work that is going on here to promote cultural pride within your communities. Seafield and I have always wanted to take the Browngirl movement online into the offline realm, into spaces like schools and areas where a lot of young people and children and girls are looking to really express their identity, and they're struggling and they don't know what to do, they don't know who to turn to. And we feel like the message of the Browngirl movement is so powerful that it can really help our community.
So without further ado, we'd love to present a short video of voices of the Browngirl movement speaking for themselves. These are girls who make people realize that it's cool to be proud of your culture, you can have the best of both worlds. And the interesting thing is that all these girls are from different countries, different backgrounds, different religions, but they're actually saying a similar thing. And that, to me, just makes me realize that the Browngirl movement is real and it's happening worldwide right now. These are just a few of them, but there are many, many more. The girls in this video, their bios are in the handouts that are dotted around, so please do check out their work when you can and support what they're doing. So,
to me, the definition of a brown girl is a warrior empress.
It means a lot of things for me to be a brown girl.
I always think of the online creative community of brown girls.
Someone that's powerful, unique.
A brown girl is someone who comes from a very charged background.
Is someone who is proud of their culture and who they are.
Traditions that involve the arts, spirituality, basically different sources of creativity and inspiration. And she's not afraid to wear these on her sleeve.
Brown girls all over the world are starting to realise that what unites us is way more important than what divides us.
One of the most important things is that it allows me to understand why I'm drawn to certain things, a certain aesthetic or a particular type of music. It's my cultural and historical heritage.
Why is being part of my culture so important? So that it can survive.
It's important to be proud of your culture because you must remember what runs through your blood.
It also allows us to better understand our parents and our grandparents and in turn our history and background.
Who are your parents? Who were their parents? Who were their grandparents? What troubles did they face? What is the history of your people? Because without understanding that, you don't really understand how you got here today. And ultimately, their blood runs in our veins. We are them and they are us.
Which again gives us a sense of belonging and could possibly fill a void that we may or may not feel at one point during our lives.
Whether it's your great-grandmother who was married at 12 or 13 and starting a family, or your grandmother or your mother who came here or to a different country to raise a family and to keep their traditions alive at the same time. That's the backbone. We should never forget that, or we should always embrace it.
And I used to let it be squashed under the feet of assimilation, but now that I celebrate it, I feel beautiful for it.
In any Western country, we're required or forced to assimilate, and we should always remember the blood that runs through us.
Oh, I rebelled against my Indian culture for many, many years, but in my later years I've learned to participate in cultural criticism, and in that process I've managed to transform and emancipate myself.
Being a Punjabi Sikh girl has influenced my work because it's taught me that sometimes if you want change, then you have to fight.
My work's always kind of been my way of negotiating my identity as a British Pakistani woman, and sometimes I didn't really even understand it myself.
I paint the way I see brown women, strong and beautiful.
If it wasn't for my culture, my background and tradition and the brownness, that I most definitely probably wouldn't be creating what I am creating today with my artwork.
As an artist, I'm very drawn to the life of South Asian women, folk art and folk culture and tribal culture in South Asia, and also the travelling communities across South Asia. I'm also very much drawn to the life of women and the space in which we negotiate our identity across the world.
I was always asked why I had a braid in my hair, and I always incorporate, a braid in my art, or I put it in a bindi, because right now bindis are cool for non-desis or not cultures who don't wear bindis.
And most special about brown girls is that they have this collective heart that can't be broken. So it's like this everlasting source of creativity and encouragement, inspiration, strength.
It's wonderful, in essence, to be a brown girl and to be able to identify with all of the things associated with being a brown girl.
And I feel that brown girls can hold themselves down in any situation that life decides to throw at them, which is pretty amazing.
Thank you so much for coming out here today and supporting us and for being a part of our journey. Here's to the Brown Girl movement.